Welcome to Immediate Review.
And our third double feature of the month today is Person A's double feature, who is off screen. You want to pass your bag and give us those hints?
Give us that
Yep.
sack, Person A.
All right. I've actually been spoiled on what we're going to watch. So,
bullshit.
Peter, you have to figure out what movies we're watching.
Okay, for those of y'all who didn't see the very end of last week's
hold on.
double feature,
Okay,
the
there you
hint
go.
was geometry.
Geometry.
Don't open it. You
Well,
got to close it. That's the hint. That's the hint.
Is closed. Okay, so the cube?
Nice. Although it's not called the cube, it's just called Cube.
Bravo! Yep, one of the films
Okay.
is Cube.
It's Cube.
Okay, and then... Acne pad?
I told you!
God damn it! Geometry, Peter!
Geometry. The shape of it. Circles.
Not plural.
Minus the S. All right.
Urkels?
So,
Circle.
Person A, you want to lead us in?
I'm not going to say much about them because you haven't seen either of them.
I don't even know. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
We're watching Circle and Cube.
Yep.
Circle
Or
and
The Circle and Cube.
No, it's just circle and cube. There are no does in either of them.
bullshit.
They both start with C. They're both the geometry-based. They're both puzzle-based movies.
All right, let's get to it. It's the circle of death, and it kills us all. So, Circle. We didn't really give a summary of this, so Person A, you want to give a quick summary of what this movie's about to those who are unfamiliar? Because it's not a popular film.
Okay, so basically what happens, it starts with a bunch of people wake up in a mysterious room arranged in a circular pattern. We find out that it has something to do with alien abduction. And all the people in the room are basically from different walks of life, different perspectives, all of that. And so they discover that they have to vote for who lives and who dies, and every 2 minutes another round of voting begins. And so it kind of bottle episode style all takes place same room, and over the course of trying to figure out what's going on, people have to determine how they're going to choose who's going to live and who's going to die.
Not like Jigsaw.
Not like Jigsaw, no. Just a lot of different political, philosophical questions come up over the course of that. And it's proposed as a test. And the question is raised as to what kind of test it is and what the purpose is.
So yeah, this movie, it's basically like a psychological study, just as a movie, just like a fictional alien psychological study. And this is like the fourth time I think we've seen this movie.
The third.
Fourth for me. I watched it alone one day. I dig this movie. I just...
It's a more complex, if you've ever heard of the trolley... God, what is it called? It's like the trolley thought experiment, like when you're on a trolley track and you have to decide.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like it's
ethical.
a smart car morality experiment online.
Yeah.
Basically, this has gotten way more popular since smart cars started becoming a thing, and like automation in vehicles. Of like, how do we moralistically tell a robot who to like, what is a better situation if it sees a child and it sees a pregnant woman? Which is it going to swerve into if it can't avoid anyone? What's the most like humane decision to make?
This also comes up a lot in the show The Good Place, so if you watch that, this will feel familiar.
And yeah, I'm glad you guys mentioned Saw, because I when it started, I was just like, okay, it's like Saw, but with like 100 people. It's like, this was my first time seeing it. Obviously, you guys know that because I had to pick the cube out and guess. But yeah, have not seen this. Hadn't even heard of it, and I really liked the premise of just like filming a movie in a single cool looking location. And I was actually thinking the backgrounds were like so dark. I was thinking they were maybe green screen, and that's kind of why they added a green tint to kind of hide some of the bleed in, so they could make it all black and have it just be this dark, like ominous room.
Yeah.
Like maybe they did that. I don't know. That's just my guess of how I would do it. But yeah, I just I really liked the so at the beginning, like there's a lot of people, and it's just like, okay, I was just like, so this is just a room full of fodder, and I really felt like they were just killing people off super quick, and I was just like, I don't care about any of these people. I have no idea who the connection with, but I was also like, that's how everyone in the room is feeling right now. So I'll ride that feeling.
Oh yeah, the movie literally just drops you into the scenario,
Yeah.
just like
Just
that.
like
And
them.
it's like there's
Yeah.
there's like stylistic shots, but there's no like, you know, landscape shots and like, you know, shit like that where it's just looking at nothing with nothing going on. Like the script for this is, while it's it can be like simplistic at times, is the entire fucking
Oh,
movie.
it's exposition heavy.
it-
Like, I'm a character who needs to say something important.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a lot of that, and it's like with an hour and a half runtime, you have a lot of time to dig into the core characters that are going to be there at the end. So it's like you start out with a huge pool of people that you don't give a shit about, and then eventually you start dialing in, and the kind of depth that they're able to give some of the characters really brings a level of tension to what is going on. And they're like, you know, I had like kind of sweat in my palms and was like, you know, just be like, oh, this fucking guy needs to die, you know, and like all this stuff.
Yeah.
And like, oh, yeah, fuck that guy. Oh, he shouldn't have said that. You know,
Yeah.
like, so it was fun to kind of see, and also like Person A said, the morality experiment of you know, kind of digging into what is, I think, one of the biggest divisives in our politics right now is morality politics, of like what policy is the most moral. And I think that's where most people differ right now, rather than, you know, oh, I want this and this specifically. It's like, no, morally this side is wrong. I am against putting children in cages, and they're like, oh, I'm against abortion. And you know, it's a moralistic battle on both ends. And this movie highlights that a lot, about putting, like, okay, if this person doesn't agree with you politically, they die. Like, what is, or like, we're gonna take it to that level, and it's like, okay, like, you know, and I think in most people's situations, unless you're fucking like an empathetic piece of shit, you're gonna side
Wall Street.
most of the time with the way that it happens in the film. But I'll let the movie kind of let that happen.
One thing I find fascinating is like they're all using societal judgments and what they've learned, and just how they go about their daily lives and stuff, and they don't fucking know if they're ever gonna get back to normal. Like, you know,
Yeah.
discussing whose jobs are most important. It's like, you don't even know if you're gonna fucking have a job when you're out of this, or what is going on, and yet they're just all still clinging to this. Well, you're a soldier and you're fucking gay, so kill you, and just like they're all just clinging to that stuff that really doesn't matter,
Yeah, the
but
superficial
that's
stuff.
all they have. That's literally, they have to make some sort of decision, and so they just resort to that.
Well, and what's interesting on that point is there are the people that are like, hey, like, it doesn't matter, we're all human, shouldn't that be what matters? And then eventually it gets to a point where the people that are trying to play it like a game and detach are like, okay, we need to kill those people that keep trying to remind us of our common humanity, because they're just getting in the way. And so it's like, it like comes into that, like, the different like philosophical views, like people get like really utilitarian, like, versus like
And
having that moral
it's very
compass.
easy to slip down that path. I mean, both sides of the
Yeah,
political
and people go
spectrum
back
is-
and forth on which they're gonna do, and then after somebody dies, like, close to them, they're like, okay, wait, no, like, that affected me emotionally, and why, and like, I did, like, people will then change their minds, or like, the thing too is that, like, it very much gets into like psychological manipulation. Like, once people figure out like how the game goes, because people start to assign value to people based on what they can contribute.
Yeah, like I said,
based on what they say they contribute
it's
to.
like
Yeah.
I said, it's like Survivor. Honestly, it's like everything I love about Survivor is like is in this.
Yeah.
Like occasionally, me and my brother will just binge watch entire seasons of it, and it is just so fucking just people tearing each other down, and just like there's no physical competition here, but it's all just like. It's like
Psychological.
it's all psychological. The mental is just to break down your psyche so that people can fucking get to you, and those lies just sound so fucking tasty, and you're just like, yes, I want to believe you so bad. Give me all the power, and then bam, you're fucking not getting $1 million, or in this case, you're getting hit
You're
with a
getting
bolt of
hit,
lightning,
yeah.
and you're dead.
Oh god, although I did like the one character that they're like, okay, let's go around, let's talk about it, and then one character just like wastes everybody's time for 2 minutes talking about details that don't matter, and even though she was a human being and all that, everybody's just super annoyed.
Yep.
So that person dies.
'Cause, yeah, you can't get that time back.
No. And so it's just like it becomes like the splitting hairs of like what's important.
Yeah.
And then what is gonna continue to be important, and do you value your life
And then
more
it
than
just
somebody
devolves
else's
into
life?
this person's in the military. She's
Yeah.
gay. She's
Yeah,
a sinner. Like,
yeah,
it's
like
fucking
well, and
just-
stereotypes that people have about
Yeah,
other
yeah.
people, and it's interesting too because the way that the movie drops you in, you immediately make your own like
Yeah.
judgments about people immediately, because a cop gets dropped in there in his uniform, a soldier gets dropped there in his uniform, and like certain stereotypes are reinforced and other stereotypes are completely broken down once you get to know the characters.
I don't know why,
And then
but
like there are very visual judgments that are made based on somebody's tattoos, how they're dressed, like etc. And then like
Race.
race, and that comes up and they address it, but then like the fact that it gets addressed also pisses people off because white fragility, and that comes into play into
Yeah.
the psychological politics of that. The fact that somebody brings up race, like immediately, like
It's
because
a-
there's a majority of people left in the room are white, and they're like freaked out by that. It plays out so well as like a psychological like society study.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's why I've watched it so many times. And upon rewatch too, it's good on rewatch because you just notice subtle things more and more each time you watch it. Like most of the actors just have an exact idea of what their character is doing,
Even
and
if they're not
communicate it
speaking.
visually really well. Yeah. And every time I rewatch this movie, I notice new things or speculate on which person voted for another person, and it's one of those ones too. Once you know what happens at the end, rewatching it like gives it a whole new context. And this is a little fucking gem on Netflix that has gone very overlooked for a long time.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting template, like just a great template to talk about all of the complex dynamics of what's going on in U.S. politics right now, and in a way that just puts all of that like right up front. It doesn't distract you with anything. It doesn't need a story to carry on to tie everything together. It's literally just like all these people from all these different areas are right here, and they're all gonna judge the hell out of each other, and it's just fucking, it is beautiful. Like honestly, it's really good. But like, yeah, let's get to the next
Yeah.
one.
So any last words, Personae, on your pick?
What I'd say is one of the most interesting things that comes to the forefront with this is that it brings up that leadership, for good or for bad, regardless of what, like standing for something, anything in this sort of situation puts a target on you,
Okay.
which we see again and again. If you're positively for something or negatively for something, like the attention that it attracts, and that ends up being like a detriment in this like game, and that becomes one of the most interesting factors, because some of the people that you're like, okay, so that person's going to be it. Nope, they drove too much attention.
Yeah.
They became a threat to the group. Like, and that happens again and again.
And that happens in Survivor.
And it happens in it happens sometimes in U.S. politics and like in other arenas too. And there's something interesting about that, like people being more threatened by somebody who's a strong leader than by the person who's like the first to follow or agree.
And this one, it's not it's not pure horror, but I think it's totally appropriate for a horror double feature because it's pretty like scary to think about.
Yeah, the
And
psychological horror.
It may
component.
not be shot like a horror movie, like you could almost call it sci-fi thriller, maybe more so. But it's just if you were in this, it's a scary fucking situation.
Yeah.
So
to think about your fate and the fate of like just thinking about having other people potentially vote.
Yeah, it's other
And
people's
you having
lives
to-
in your hand.
yeah.
Like it's
Literally in your hand and your life in their
it's-
hands and
it's-
what
it's-
you
yeah.
say about yourself or even what your physical appearance like communicates to other people. Like if somebody's like, I don't like your face or your tattoos or
I
what
don't
you're
like your
wearing
face.
or your hair or if you're wearing your work uniform and that communicates something all those judgments can be deadly, folks.
So how does this movie connect to Cube?
So, Cube, which many more people have seen, is definitely a predecessor to this film by about almost 20 years.
A little over 20 years.
Yeah, it is another kind of, it's not as bottle episode-y as this one, but it happens in a single location. It's different rooms in a single location.
This is the one with like the glass. It's like a tumble.
Oh, so
box or
you're
something.
familiar with
I've
it.
seen. I've something's ringing in my head.
Yeah,
It's something
this
like-
one went to
yeah.
theaters, has a big budget. Yeah. I
Okay,
mean,
yeah, I've heard. Yeah, something.
There's lots of
something's
math.
ringing. I can. It's like the back of my head. People in cages. They can see through the walls or something. I don't know.
All right, we just got cubed.
Yeah. So this movie is all about. It is all about volume rather than surface area. You know what I mean? Like. Yeah.
First today, you want to start us off?
Okay, so this familiar setup. You get dropped into a weird room area with the person who doesn't know what's going on, except in this case, there are lots of rooms that are cubes with lots of different doors. Some of the rooms are traps, some of the rooms are safe. People run into other people and eventually form a group, have to figure out if they can get out of the cube of cubes, the cube cubed.
And must use math to solve it.
Yes, must use math to get out. And at first they're trying to figure out why they're all in there until they eventually reach a conclusion that there is no reason.
Spoiler alert. This movie basically kicked off the whole genre of weird science fiction room that we're trapped in and have to escape. The circle, the platform, a more recent one, the escape room movie.
They're pretty much any bottle episode puzzle box movie. Fermat's Room is another one where they have to use math to escape the room.
Yeah. So, Peter, you haven't seen this movie. What'd you think?
So, I can't help but directly compare it to Circle. Considering we just
it's
watched
heavily inspired by it, and
I think that Circle I enjoyed a lot more, just for the sake of just how packed it was with like socio-political commentary, and I'm just a sucker for that. I just like it. But yeah, this one was definitely like. I mean, it just kind of is what it is, It's just like these people are stuck in a cube, and there are other cubes, and they some of them will kill you, and it's like you got to deal with that, and it's like it's just that's what it is, and it's like people go crazy, and you interact with the characters, but it's like, I personally like ask questions and whatnot because. The solutions that they kind of come up with in this movie, are very, specific. This girl has an immense knowledge of math and can do all of this stuff in her head and is able to, understand all of these, complex math
You could tell the writer loves math and wanted to just work it in.
Yeah.
And then they had, someone who was disabled who I actually thought was portrayed incredibly well. I don't know if the actor was actually disabled or not, but it was realistic. I bought it. yeah, it's like he had to have the
Savant
the kind
powers.
of, and this is kind of a thing that comes up in the '90s a lot. You know, like Forrest Gump and Rain Man and whatnot is like people with disabilities have like extraordinary like math skills or something.
It's
along
the whole
directly,
savant
it's
thing,
Rain Man.
you
It's
know,
directly based on
yeah,
Rain
and
Man.
it's like
Which is interesting because the Rain Man's based on an actual guy who actually was a savant. but
and
then-
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like that definitely is a real thing, and that was hugely popular in the '90s. They just did it a lot, and so they kind of
I
go
think
in
this movie
route.
does it well.
Oh no! I'm not saying that they did it wrong. I'm just saying that it's unrealistic that these people would survive, considering they would need two people, a savant and someone who's
unless the
incredibly
people
skilled
that
at math.
put them in there.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very like writers set up the situation to allow them to survive. But I did enjoy the ending. I thought like kind of yeah. I was like. I'm not gonna say what happens, but yeah.
I do too. I really like that it's really character driven because it's like there really aren't too many traps in the movie.
Mm-mm.
Like 3 or 4 in like an hour and a half long movie. They
avoid
they
most
didn't
of
really
them.
get into
it's all conflict and problem solving, and they don't. It's
and
not
them
just.
getting dehydrated.
It's not like an
exhausted.
excuse just to like, here's how this person dies, and isn't this death sick? Like, there are some cool death sequences, yeah, but the movie is not concerned with focusing on that aspect really at all, and a lot of the deaths may or may not even involve the trapped rooms. And I really appreciate that about it. That it's not.
Actually,
That's what Saw
most of
is.
the
Saw is built so we can have an excuse to see these crazy traps. In this movie, the crazy traps don't feel like I like that math and conflict is what is the focus of the writing and not so much just cool traps and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the darkest sides of people coming out, and like what that looks like, whether it's paranoia or just straight up big, the biggest controlling douchebag in the world, or just being annoyed at everybody and being just
Or
like
cynical and jaded
everybody's
and like fuck
yeah, it's
y'all.
just totally cynical and nihilistic. Like everybody's like dark shit comes out, which makes sense because they haven't eaten or barely slept. There's no water. They're running on very like. And
Well,
they're in
I think they do a
high-stress
good job of
situations.
portraying that too. They're especially the one guy at the end. He's very just like
Just
Well,
wanting
it's
to-
similar to like what happens to the characters in like Blair Witch Project, where they're lost in the woods and they eventually like slowly have a plan, and as those plans break down, they get more and more panic and distressed until it escalates, and that's like exactly what happens to humans. Like,
but they
we
were real
tried-
people, Peter.
Oh, I know they were, but like
Just kidding.
but yeah, it's like in this situation, they come up with a plan, like a hypothesis, and they try to test it, and they keep moving through. And as they get more and more desperate, because they don't get the sense, it's just like you're lost in the woods. Like you don't know where the fuck you are or where any of the landmarks are or anything. You can't see more than 20, 30 feet in front of you because of all the forest. It's like. And you're in a cube, but you can't fucking see anything around you at all, and all you hear is just fucking rumbling and shit, and like any room that you could
And
go
the
into
lights.
could potentially kill you.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely a unique premise. And yeah, I like the effects. The Rands guy who gets like
That looked
his
great.
eyes sprayed looked incredible. I
That
thought
looked-
that
that
was
looked great.
And like they did cool effects with like steam rising up and all sorts of stuff, and like him dissolving away. I really appreciated that.
No, I do think Circle has a stronger script. And
Yeah.
I think this one has more well-defined characters and better cinematography. But I this is only my second watch, and I've watched The Circle 4 times. So there you go. I think like in my head, I think they're about equal. But so I keep coming back to Circle.
Yeah.
My main thing with including this one is because it's really what started a lot of.
Oh yeah,
things.
this
And
is a genre
the
pioneer
you getting
for
dropped
sure.
in the same situation with the same amount of knowledge, like the group of people, the stuff that comes up, like the way the situation plays out, all of that.
Oh yeah,
like,
it's definitely
really
a great choice for double feature
like,
for sure.
I
thought you
never-
were gonna make us watch something like really bad. Like I was prepping for just like, okay.
Dude, she had one
Really
picked
bad
out called
time.
Cruel Peter
Yeah, I
about
was
some
gonna
like
try-
undead little boy, and she's
just because they kept saying no, Cruel Peter, and I wanted to do a name one, but
It
I
looked
couldn't
so
find.
bad.
I couldn't find another one that had like Dakota's name in it, or like Daco, or another Peter one that wouldn't make you want to like murder
yeah,
me.
she
at
just
the
wanted
end
to
of
show
the
you
one
some
other.
shitty horror movie with your name in it.
So I then I changed.
Oh, battery's getting low. We gotta wrap
So,
this up.
Puzzle room, bottle episode, horror movies are cool.
They're
Puzzle
tight.
room, they're tight.
They're tight.
tight. However, sequels, not so tight.
Yeah, we couldn't finish Cube 2. We shut it off about 15 minutes in.
So watch the originals. Have not seen a good
Maybe
puzzle
we'll give
room.
it another chance. Just for
Yeah, you guys could make it through.
Yeah.
It'd be super easy.
I've
Barely
watched-
an inconvenience.
Yeah.
I've
No,
watched some
it's really
shitty
not.
fucking horror movies this year. I think I might be able to go back and watch them.
Oh, it's pretty darn bad.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna get out of here because our battery's gonna die. But yeah, let us know if you watched this double feature down below. Any other double features we should check out? Any I woke up in this crazy situation and it's horrible.
Have you
movies.
ever woken up in a crazy sci-fi room before?
Let us know down below.
how did you get out?
Peace out, guys.